quiet mornings to city lights. Every story earns its right. No filters, no favors, just the truth all day long. This is the pulse of Jonesboro.
Welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I'm Jeremy Terrell, and I am your host. And today we have a special guest, and this is Bryan Norris. And Bryan Norris is running for Secretary of State, and voting is March 3rd. Early voting has already started, so get to the polls. Make sure you know who you're voting for. Make sure you've done your research, and make sure that at the end of the day, you are picking a candidate that believes in the same things that you do. So I think it's important. Today we're going to get to know a little bit about Bryan and what he stands for and kind of his vision of Arkansas. So we're going to jump right into it. Go ahead and just introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Right in the fire, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm a native Arkansan, man. I was born in Truman, Arkansas. Unfortunately, born like the majority of Arkansans are, poor, very poor. Born to a single mother, raised in Truman. We started life out in the projects, and then we graduated to an old sharecrop style farm home, just about a mile outside of town. But we had everything we needed. It was a great childhood. I spent my childhood running around outside, doing everything that a young boy should do. And we had a good community. It was a safe community back then. They looked after one another, and they looked after me very well. I mean, it's small town. Everybody knew the circumstances in which we were growing up in, and teachers played a significant role in my upbringing. They recognized I had dyslexia very young, and there was a few teachers who would open their doors up early for me and really work through that issue for me to make me be successful. And that investment paid off. I got into Arkansas State University. And when I was there, 9/11 happened. I felt the call to serve. So I went to the recruiting station and volunteered 3 days after Bush declared war. Found myself enlisting in the United States Army. And within a few months after that, I was off in Afghanistan in 2003. Well, several months after that, about 9-10 months after, because I went delayed entry. So anyway, very quick order. I found myself in Afghanistan and fell in love with the job. Absolutely loved being in the Army and doing Army stuff and being with soldiers and all the training and everything that we did. So I ended up making a career out of it. I stayed 21 years, achieved the rank of First Sergeant. During that time, found opportunities to finish, my higher education because I established a goal. I wanted to be the first person in my family to get higher education. So I did that. I graduated with Phi Kappa Phi with my bachelor's degree in business management, have my project management certificate, and I have my master's degree in transformational leadership, and I graduated with President's Honors and 4.0 with that. And have every leadership position in the United States Army that an enlisted guy can have, from team leader all the way up to operations sergeant major. I was not a sergeant major, but I did sit in the seat, and I had the responsibility and all the things that come with that position, which is quite a lot. I mean, you can think of an operations sergeant major as someone like a CEO of a medium to large size business, several $100 million worth of equipment, tons of assets, lots of people, everything from training to health to building to feed to operational environments. All that stuff falls underneath the purview of an ops sergeant major. And then decided to retire, and we came home. We came back to Arkansas. Me and my wife. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. She homeschools our three daughters that are 13, 12, and 11. And we wanted to come back to a Christian, conservative, faith-based community that was smaller town, safe, where we could raise our family with the values that, like I grew up with. And so we chose Batesville, Arkansas. Got there, got a job as a remote project manager for a Fortune 500 company. Now I manage global projects, and anything you can think of, from moving factories to changing CRM to SRP to all that stuff that is involved in that process. And moved up the chain there in a few short years and doing very well in that business. So I'll be the only candidate who will take a pay cut to take the office in which it is that I'm seeking. And I really think that I have a great combination of skills to bring to the table when it comes to Secretary of State. Um, Figuring out and navigating the military and the government structure and that discipline and that environment and all that stuff, it's often difficult to transition to civilian world without being abrasive, without alienating people and doing stuff. But I was able to, and there were some challenges for me. I had to learn, but I knew I had to figure it out if I was going to be successful. So I was able to kind of blend the best of what I captured from the military with that discipline, that extreme ownership, that drive, that don't accept failure, find a way, adapt, think outside the box. Just because it's the way that we've always done something doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way, right? And I was able to morph that into my corporate structure and really, at a very high level, take that crossover and just excel with it, right? To get teams, because as a project manager, I don't manage people, I manage projects. So I get people constantly moving in and out from all other disciplines.
Right.
And able to very quickly build a team, describe success, orient the team to that success, have a plan in order to get there, all the risk mitigation, all the structure along with it, and I basically follow the MDMP process with it from the military decision-making process. I follow that process with PMBOK, which is a project management structure, and I just blend it in. And that's how I manage my projects. So I think I can bring that skill set to the Secretary of State and start fixing some of the problems that we have in the state where it comes to government inefficiencies, overreach, way we've always done business, maybe the good old boy system, some people will call it, the red tape burdens, the other things that get in people's way that we all know, right?
Right.
We all know all the issues with it. One of the problems with government, though, and I saw this in the military side, is that people get in and then they get siloed. They get in a position, they stay in a position, and they just stay there. Where they get very comfortable there in the way that they were doing business that was very successful 15, 20, 25 years ago, that really worked well back then, they just maintained that. And they never had a detached perspective on this isn't working anymore, and we can be far more efficient with new tools, new ways, new things, new ways of doing business. And so that's an advantage that I feel. I'm not a career politician. I've had to figure out the military, I had to figure out the civilian side. And so from a detached perspective, I'm able to see the issues, think outside the box, increase efficiencies where we can, keep the things that are working well the way that they are, and just adapt some stuff and level up across the board. And I really want to focus on business because at the end of the day, money and the lack of thereof is the focal point of most of the issues that we face in the state. Poverty begets drug use, begets crime, begets imprisonment, begets a cycle, right? It all just kind of flows back in that order.
Right.
And it gets, you get family traps in it. It just becomes the new state of existence for these family, and it becomes common. It becomes normal to them. Well, we want to break that cycle, and we want to do that by injecting opportunities. And the more opportunities, Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations is true. It's fundamental truth. Even though times have changed, even though processes have changed, even though technology has changed, the basic fundamentals are there, right?
Right.
If we bring more opportunities to the state, that means that employers are going to have to begin to pay more of a wage to keep their employees with them, or they will go to the person down the street. And that's what we got to do in this state, because we are the lowest average median income pretty much of all of our neighbors. We are the lowest. Mississippi even now has a higher average median income, and so does Louisiana, than what we do in the state of Arkansas. And that's because they have increased opportunities in their state. And Texas is blowing us out of the water. Oklahoma's doing very, very well. Missouri is doing quite well as well. Tennessee is they're killing it too. Texas and Tennessee are doing very, very good. So why is everyone around us doing extremely well, but we're not? Why is their average median incomes going up? Why is their education scores going up? Why is their health scores going up? But we continuously stay at the bottom. Well, it's because we don't have the opportunities that they do. And we have to start asking ourselves the question, why? When you look at a map, we have more water, we have plenty of land, we have lots of resources, we have great road infrastructure, we have great rail infrastructure, we have good airports, we have navigable waterways to get to the international water via the Mississippi. Why do we keep getting bypassed by all these businesses that are relocating from California, Illinois, New York, upper Midwest? Well, it's because their business climate sucks. And they go somewhere else that's more advantageous for them as a business. So Secretary of State needs to be the chief ambassador for business for the state of Arkansas. We need to recruit and solicit businesses to come to the state, and we need to get government out of the way so that our small business owners can do what they need to do to thrive. And that is going to help break the cycle of the poverty situation that we got in this state.
So I think I've heard you talk about this before, but what do you think is maybe the top 3 driving factors of why these companies are bypassing Arkansas?
Oh, well, number one, it has, and I don't know, I haven't been in these meetings, I haven't been in these conversations, but as someone that had the opportunity to bring business to the state, 3 separate businesses, the answer I was given from a politician is that the local employers of that area don't want them because they would have to pay their employees more because they would go to them because they can pay a higher wage. Well, to me, that's capitalism, right? That's a fair market. I'm sorry, but you need to figure that out. And you shouldn't use government as a hindrance to block better employment to come to the citizenry. That's not what the government should be doing at all. It's kind of the opposite of what the government should be doing. But nevertheless, it happened, and all 3 of those businesses went somewhere else. 2 went to Oklahoma, 1 went to Nebraska. And, that was 530 jobs between those 3 businesses that could have come to this state that would have been value added. So definitely the business climate. But with that, I think there is also a stigma that the state of Arkansas has that we all know, we've all heard.
Right.
And that's because we're allowing everyone else to define who we are. And we're not sticking our head up, we're not puffing our chest out, and we're not defining who we are. We're allowing others to do that. And that's going to stop immediately. And that's going to stop from a leadership perspective. And I'm going to drive that change. I will do it personally and ensure that it is replicated throughout my office as much as possible. Because who you think you are is who you become.
Right.
And if you allow others to dictate and define who you are and you agree to that, then that is who you will become. So we're going to break that cycle as quickly as possible. So I think businesses, one, we don't solicit business from the state of Arkansas. We don't go out and find them and sell what we can bring to the table. And I'm going to copy Texas. I mean, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to, some brainiac that's going to create this new stuff. No, I like to take the shortest way possible to success, right? And when I was running for Secretary of State, I started looking at what do other states do that are successful. Texas stood out. Mississippi stood out too from a website perspective and what they do and how they navigate their website. They probably got the best one in the nation, which is crazy for Mississippi to say that, right? We used to say, thank God for Mississippi, and now not so much. But Texas in business, what they were able to achieve pre-COVID and especially during COVID and then post-COVID has been nothing short of just amazement. How do they do it? Well, they established a department of about 12 people, and these 12 individuals, they shop the world and nation for businesses that might move. Not that have advertised the move yet, not that have already picked a destination, but they don't leave those off the table too, but they primarily focus on ones that they think might be willing to move. And then they do everything that business needs for them. They do the market research. They do the employment analysis. They do the paperwork for them. They do everything. And then they schedule a meeting. And that a couple of members will go out there and have a meeting with that CEO or that president. And they'll lay out everything they did and have a good conversation. And then they'll leave. And then a couple of weeks later, a week, 2 weeks later, the governor will call that business and say, I just want to welcome you to Texas. Make sure that my people's treating you okay. Is there anything I can do for you? Now think about a business owner in a relationship like that with the state, right? You've got a state that is hungry for you, that is doing the work for you, that is laying you out a blueprint for success. And then you got the governor calling you to welcome you and ensure that you're being treated right. No wonder businesses are flocking to the state of Texas. So I want to replicate that. I want to improve upon that. And I want to take what they did, adapt it, make it better, and beat them at their own game.
Yeah, wow.
That's how you play chess.
No, I love that, and it made me think a lot about what you're saying, and we here locally probably are dealing with a lot of that same thing. We're trying to figure out why we're not growing when we should be. I mean, we're the perfect storm. We've got the industry, we've got the farming, we've got the medical, we've got the
flat land to build for days.
We've got the college, we've got, you name it, we have it, and we're stagnant.
Yeah.
And it's probably because other, high dollar or whatever businesses are probably like saying, oh no, we don't want those to come here. And so they're cherry picking who in the world is going to come here and who's not. I bet that has a lot to do with it. And then, I was just talking to, at an event that we just had, 20 minutes ago, I think you were actually in the conversation, where the guy said, we tried to build here. Number one, it cost way more. And then two, we had to do like 15 different things that we didn't have to do right down the road in Truman. And, that's the kind of stuff that just, I guarantee that's happening statewide too in a lot of different areas.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's just hard to come and be, part of Arkansas. Here's another question I got for you. And I don't know in your research, I mean, again, you're running for the office. So, but you maybe have done some research of this. Currently right now in Jonesboro, we have like 600 jobs that the factories are having a hard time filling. Now we have the labor, they're just not applying for the jobs. And I think that that's a lot of kind of what you said a second ago is like, do the analysis for them, but the education part of labor, and doing things and driving that process. We were supposed to have an awesome like Votech school come, and that got squashed by, again, the powers to be. But that company, what they do is they come in and model the area and basically provide the education for the area and the area's needs. And so, if you're at Nestle, what do you need? Okay, well, we're just gonna provide those for you.
Absolutely.
HVAC companies, whatever it is, they were providing for them, and that got squashed because of powers to be. But those are the kind of things that we probably should pocket all over Arkansas. This actually was mirrored out of Fort Smith, and Fort Smith is kicking Jonesboro's butt right now, which is ridiculous. Why in the world? I mean, we have everything that you need over here, and we're getting beat by Fort Smith. But, Northwest Arkansas is kicking everybody's butt, obviously. But, and there's modeling up that I'm sure that we could do over there as well in order to bring things to Arkansas. Now, I've heard you talk a little bit about, we have some natural resources and some other things that I don't think anybody really knows about. Can you hit on those real quick?
Yeah, I'll go back to your point before we talk about the natural resources we have too. So I have studied that. And one, we've got to be proactive and stop reacting to everything. So I've met with some of the community college chancellors across the state and ones that are doing very well, doing exactly what it is you're talking about. And I want to create buy-in with the rest of those and bring that service. And we should have for every geographical area throughout the state. I say there's 6 of them. You have Northeast Arkansas, you have Northwest Arkansas, you have North Central Arkansas, you have Central Arkansas, you have Southwest Arkansas, and you have that oil lithium sector right there in South Central Arkansas, and then you have the Southeast Central Arkansas. And create that knowledge center there that is planning 5, 6, 8 years down the road so that we can start building into that map. What businesses are we trying to attract to the state? How can we align the curriculum? And when do we think that we can get those businesses to come here? And start mapping that stuff out and start plugging them around. Like, who do we want to be the tech center of Arkansas? Who do we want to be the manufacturing base? Who do we want to be the agricultural base? Who do we want to be, the chemical base? And start mapping areas out that so that there's diversity in our portfolio and there's an avenue for employment of whatever area and discipline the individual wants to do without having to leave the state. So if you want to manufacture, well, you can come to Northeast Arkansas.
Right.
If you want to do row crop agriculture, you can go to the Delta. If you want to do cattle farming agriculture, you can go to the Ozarks and out in the South, right? If you want to do chemicals and all that stuff, well, we got plenty of that going on out in the River Valley over there by Fort Smith. If you want to get in the space tech and all that stuff, let's go up to Northwest Arkansas and let's see what they're doing in the Missile Defense Agency. And maybe some of that will be down around Magnolia with Lockheed Martin and stuff. Like really mapping this stuff and planning it out and telling those companies that are here, like, hey, you need to start planning to grow in 4 years. We're going to map out a workforce for you that looks like this. This is the investment we need for you. And oh, by the way, if you do it here, the cost of living is so much lower. So instead of paying $300,000 for that job, you can pay $150,000 for it here. And that's double the current salary that the people in this area are getting. So it's a win-win on both sides, right? So there's avenues, there's targets of opportunity across all that spectrum. And that's definitely something that we need to implement in the state so we can achieve success.
Absolutely. And if we don't do that, we're going to be continuing to do the cycle that we're
gonna
constantly
die.
been doing.
We're going to die.
We are not turning out the next generation.
No, Arkansas is dying across the state. It's dying.
And people don't know that.
I've driven all over the state. Now, if you live in Northwest Arkansas, you're doing well. If you live in Fort Smith, you're not doing so bad. If you live in Central Arkansas, Conway area, down around Benton, you're doing pretty good. But pretty much everywhere else is struggling. Jonesboro, maybe not so much. They still got some lifelines on them.
We're teetering. We're on the good edge right now.
Drive through the Delta. Drive through Southern Arkansas. Drive out to Texarkana.
Drive further north.
Drive in the Ozarks. It's pretty rough out there. And it's unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. We can fix it. But the biggest thing is what you hit on before I went back is lithium. People don't understand the ramifications of what this resource can bring to the state. It can make us like what oil did for Oklahoma and Texas and more. It's a valuation at $1 trillion, and the only byproduct is fertilizer. We could be the number 2 supplier of fertilizer, nitric fertilizer, in the globe next to Canada.
Right.
So your $1 trillion valuation, market evaluation of lithium, and your only byproduct is to be the second market cap exporter of fertilizer. I mean, it's a win-win. And it's compounded because the most significant issue in the United States of America, the global world, is energy. And it's because of AI. And in America, artificial intelligence is projected to consume 100% of the energy which the United States produces today.
Yep. Within 4 years.
They are running to try to figure this out. They're talking about building container-sized nuclear weapons. They're talking about putting freaking lasers in space that beam down energy. I mean, nothing's off the table. But we have the lithium here. We can make money on mining it. We can manufacture the batteries in the state, make money on the manufacturing process, and then we can build those battery banks in the state of Arkansas because we are able to produce more energy in America, and we're connected to the national grid except for Texas. So we can sell that energy to 47 other states. We're not going to get it to Alaska, but 47 other states in the continental United States, we can sell that energy to them and make money that way. And the battery technology is getting so good now, and if we can figure out the solid state battery thing, those batteries may last for decades upon decades. We don't even know how long. It's such a new technology. Yeah. So it's an investment that we can make that's going to pay. It's going to put us in a position to where our grandkids will have wealth that we would have never understood.
And we got to have the leadership there in order to do this.
Well, I am afraid Texas is going to come and extract all that wealth from our soil and take it over to Texas and do exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you go to Magnolia, if you go to Southern Arkansas, you will see Texas license plates like you were in Texas. And you will see all these office spaces with all these Texas vehicles parked in front and no signage on the office space. And that's what they're there doing. They're there lobbying. I mean, they're doing what they need to be doing.
For Texas, though, unfortunately.
Absolutely. For the companies in Texas. Yeah. But let's say you want this lithium? You're going to have to move your manufacturing base to Arkansas. We're not going to let it leave the state.
Yep.
That's the deal.
Absolutely.
You're talking about $1 trillion. Do you want to leave that at the table? Because if you do, we'll find a business that'll come in and do it in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, we've had several different incidences kind of here locally. And I think it's a microcosm of obviously Arkansas. But, we had, like a Parks and Rec director way over his head as far as just being able to draw people in and
probably a little bit of nepotism there.
Yeah, there's probably some nepotism there, and there was just it's just some inability. We're building a huge new sports complex, well, with taxpayers' dollars, which is kind of crazy, and we hired out the company out of state, a company to come in and manage the place.
Same with the prison.
Right. And so it's like
$800 million project going to an out-of-state company.
We want the cheese and the crumbs. We don't want everything. And that's because I think that I
want it all.
I'm with you. But it's a leadership problem that we have, and it's a leadership problem throughout our state. And that is just what you said. they look at this low stuff, the stuff falling off the tree, and you and I are talking about the whole tree.
It's because of the way politics is designed and become. They never want to think past 4 years because that's their next election,
Right.
Or 2 years if they're
2
in
years.
the House or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, 3 years if you're even in the 4 year, because your last year of that 4 year, you're just running.
Exactly. Where I'm looking at it completely different. The only thing I want to be is Secretary of State. So and if you reelect me, it's going to be on my job history. It's not going to be on me going out and shaking babies and kissing hands, right? No, it's going to be on my performance. Yep. I'm looking at being evaluated every day. So I am going to run as fast as I possibly can to create opportunities throughout this state to where I don't have to worry about an election.
It's going to be so good.
I'm not going to focus on it.
Right. It's going to be so good. We would be nuts in order to hire to elect somebody different. I completely
at the end of 8
100%
years,
with you.
I'm going to change my phone number. I'm going to change my email address, and I'm going to pretend like you guys don't exist. And I'm going to say I did my part. It's your turn, and I'm out. That's it. That's the gig, man. Like I'm done. I'm going to give you 8 years of my life, as much as I physically, humanly possibly can, and then I am done.
Yeah.
You got me for that period of time. And we're going to do everything we can to make it better. And then I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy my family, and I'm going to enjoy grandkids down the road, and I'm going to fade away.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've noticed in just watching you in versus opponents, and I'm not asking you to talk about your opponents or anything. What I'm really wanting you to do is just talk about your passion and your commitment levels. You hit a little bit on them with the military background and so forth, but a lot of people don't actually get to see your passion unless they're watching you on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
Hit a little bit on really where that passion comes from, if you don't mind.
Man, this state gave me the state and this nation gave me everything. It made me who I am. The Army bought my first suit. I still have it. I'll never get rid of it. I remember putting on that tie in basic training and thinking to myself, man, rich people wear ties. I'd never had a tie.
Right.
Dress shoes, all that stuff. And it came from the taxpayers. And then they paid for my education, and they allowed me to build a life. And then I was able to take that education, those credentials, and all the money that they spent on to train me and make me who I was in the military, and apply that to the civilian side and get a job making pretty good money, for the first time in my life. And, we have such good people in this country, in this, especially the state of Arkansas. And they are selfless. If you go anywhere around the world, those people are being supported in some way or have been supported by the American taxpayer. Right? Whether that's from food assistance, economic development, educational development, whatever. But
Safety.
But we don't do it for our own people. We are always so busy taking care of everyone else because we're good people.
Right.
And we want to do good. And it feels good to do good. And I see that in my people. But at some point in time, you got to tell people, like, look, right now, we're in a plane crash. And what do you do in a plane crash? You put your mask on first before you take care of the people to your left and your right. It's time we put on our mask. It's time we take care of our neighbors. It's time we take care and prep the battlefield for our children and grandchildren to be successful so that they can continue to take care of people around the world. And hopefully they'll start to take care of themselves better. But right now we got to focus on ourselves.
I'm running for school board, and because I believe that, that it's maybe one of the most important things is educating our kids, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I believe that some of the things that the governor's done has been great, and some of the things that it's done is really hurting.
It was great, but I wish it had been thought through a little bit better on the financial side.
Yeah. Well, and you can't kill cities to advance certain other things.
I'm gonna play devil's. I'm gonna push back on you on that a little bit. Let's go back to choice and competition and capitalism. The city school systems wouldn't be killed if they were performing.
Correct.
But
100%.
because they're not performing, parents are trying to find something else because they want they agree with you that we have to have quality educated kids in order
Correct.
for them to be successful.
Yep.
So if the school system's not providing it, they're going to go to where they can. And now we've unlocked that gate.
Yep.
And
Well,
unfortunately-
and I don't disagree with you. So you're not really pushing back. But this is the first generation that is not cognitively better than their parents.
yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of factors going at.
100%. But a lot of that. But we're not as education. We're not
We got soft.
at 100%. And so I get it 100%, and I want a ton of competition.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that we don't have. And so, around here, we don't have schools competing against each other.
They should be.
Right. They do in some sportings, but they don't as far as like academics and things like that. There's a lot of excuses. And the thing is that nobody's being held accountable. Nobody's being held
That's
accountable.
the thing. We got to start holding people accountable.
That's
But
right.
the sport thing, you know what? All of you guys love your sports, right? What's the percentage and likelihood that your child is going to be a professional athlete and that be their living, right?
Depends on which one, 1 to 3%.
So what I would do if I was governor,
1
I'd
to
say
3%.
you cannot do anything in sports if you are not above 70 percentile. And you're going to be graded by an independent third party outside of your district that you have no influence on.
Yeah.
And if your students are not, as a collective, above the 70% mark, you don't get sports. You can't spend taxpayer money to build your auditoriums and your stadiums and your fields and all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, your job is to educate the future of our state.
Period.
You are failing. We are not going to reward you with more money and a new football stadium and allow you to have all these extracurricular activities that play no part in your academic, which is what our reason for existence is, until you start to do better.
Yeah, we've put other things over education.
We've
put the money over education.
All that stuff is
We've
good.
put the sporting over education. We've put, it's a
what is
money
their job?
grab.
What is their job?
100%. And we don't support good teachers anymore. We support agendas.
And superintendents
it's crazy.
should take the bulwark of that responsibility.
Yeah, but you could fail and still be a superintendent. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. But from what I hear you saying is the opportunity is going to be there for education in your plan by default, which I love. So you're going to provide these avenues for all of these businesses. And what's going to happen is other organizations are going to come in and they're going to grab kids at a little bit older age to be the next generation. What that's going to do is some of these schools are going to be like, oh, wait a minute, and it was the craze for a long time, and very few schools in the state of Arkansas are doing it. But the STEM stuff, and but those schools that have that should probably switch some of those stems and gravitate towards what's happening in their communities. And I think so you'll get some trickle down.
There's even a better part of that.
So
have you heard about the business school model?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to lean heavy on that. Okay. Now this will take some legislator and governor support, but basically what this is, if you don't know this, a large company that can afford to do it will set up a schoolhouse for whatever it is they're doing. And then you offer them tax abatements, educational credits, whatever it is, because of that education thing that they're doing. And what they will do is, instead of going to a trade school or instead of going to a 4-year university, they say, if you want to be a plumber, you come here, you pay nothing, you get your license, but you have to work for us for 4 years.
Right.
You sign a contract with us for 4 years at this pay scale, right? Now, the student is guaranteed to get educated, not cost any money, and guaranteed to walk out with a job. So it's a pretty good deal, right? So instead of walking out, say, making $25 an hour as a plumber, maybe he's making 22, right? Still not a bad gig when you don't have to pay back a student loan.
Right.
And you got a guaranteed job and you don't have to work and hunt for it. It's an option. I think it's a very good option. And I think those businesses have a more interest in investing that knowledge into that workforce, because it's going to increase their productivity, it's going to increase their portfolio, it's going to increase their bottom line, right? So they want to have a very well-educated plumber, electrician, welder leaving that shop, because the more educated and better they are on the front end, the less they have to pay to make it up on the factory floor or on whatever it is that they're doing, right? It's a win-win. It's a win-win for both parties. So we definitely want to capitalize on that market. I mean, Walmart's doing it right now. Walmart says we don't want to hire logistics specialists from the universities anymore because they're messing it all up. They set up their own school system to certify and train logisticians in Walmart. And it's working out quite well. There's many places. Northrop Grumman does it. Raytheon does it. There's lots of companies out there that have adapted this model to fit their need.
Nice.
So it's another target of opportunity.
Well, and it solves a big problem for them and the communities. So, and those are the companies you want. Those are the companies that you want to come in, and they're going to invest in their communities.
Exactly.
They're going to invest while they're investing in their
We've got to get
companies.
them in the door. We got to get them here.
Absolutely.
And what can we sell them? Well, you can sell them lower cost of living, which means that they can probably save on payroll a little bit by coming here. We can, the price of land is cheaper. Price of electricity is cheaper. Utilities are cheaper. So, you hammer all those points and you show them on the longevity of it, right? And yeah, you got to make some investments as a company first. You got to educate the workforce a little bit too. But let's look 5, 10, 15 years down the road for a business, which a large corporation is going to do that. The government's not going to do that.
Right.
And if you can make it make sense mathematically with quantifiable data, they'll bite. Right. And then you close the deal. But now they're in, right? And 5, 10, 15 years down the road, property values are going up. Cost of living is going up a little bit. They got an educated workforce that's now outside their contract. And if they want to keep them, what do they got to do? They got to pay them more.
Right.
Or they're going to go to the person down the street.
Right. And either way, it's a great thing.
Either way, it's a great thing.
So,
but you got to get them in the door. You got to get them here.
What kind of, when and if you win, what do you think you're going to have to do as soon as you get elected? What are the things that I believe this is what separates real leaders from other leaders, and I'm assuming you've probably thought this. Don't know if that's true.
Oh yeah.
But what are you going to do hitting the ground to make an impact right off the bat?
Okay, right off the bat, day one, the door's coming off my office. I'm going to be the most transparent politician in Arkansas's history. You want to know what I'm doing? Just come hang out in the lobby. You can hear it all day long. Now, there are some security elements of my job when it comes to securing the Capitol grounds and the legislature and the governor. And that'll be the only things that I will do behind closed doors. But everything else is free chicken. Just come and take a bite. Then immediately after that, I'm going to get with my staff, and they are going to have the standard set for them. We are going to define roles and responsibilities for every position. We will define evaluation materials and how to quantify how well they're doing. We will log customer service interactions for improvement and make sure that we are becoming a customer service Secretary of State office and not just a black hole that you call into, which is what a lot of people feel like right now. And then we will ensure that they know what the standard is. And immediately I'm going to tell my staff, what you are going to do is schedule out a minimum of 2 full days out of every work week for me to be out in the state somewhere. And I want to meet with small business owners and the county election officials in that county. And my goal when I go out is with the small business owners, I want them to define what success looks like for them in 5 years. And then we're going to walk the dog back and plan that out a little bit. What's your phases and milestones and what's it going to take you to get there, right? And then I'm going to come back to the Secretary of State's office with my staff, and I'm going to package that up and give it to them. Say, like, hey, these people in this area, this is where they're trying to get to. Whatever the Secretary of State's office can do to assist them, figure that out. And then give me that information. And then find people that can solve some of these problems that we can point these business owners to help them with the issues that they're having. And by doing all that too, we're going to create what I call a knowledge center of excellence for business in the state of Arkansas. That's for Arkansas business owners only, meaning you have a secure login to be able to come to it. And it's a place where we can take all these lessons learned and issues going on throughout the state and work together to start solving these things. Right. So if someone in Northwest Arkansas already figured out a blueprint to success in a certain business, and you got a dude down in Southeast Arkansas that's trying to figure it out, well, now they've met, right? Now they're communicating, and it's in a secure environment, and they can start, having those conversations and working with one another, and start building those relationships and getting buy-in and getting government out of the way, which is another thing on day one. If it's not codified in law, in regards to business, it goes away. I will not entertain it. If the legislature wants to pass a bill, I'll follow the law. But if it's not a bill signed by the governor, see you later, it goes away. If I can reduce the franchise fees and the taxes and all that stuff, the filing fees to zero, I will. I don't know how the Secretary of State's office is funded yet. I haven't dug into that. So if my funding is tied to those fees and taxes, then that's a different dynamic that we get, because I got to make payroll. I got to do things. But if it's not tied to that, then now that's a legislature problem. It's not a me problem.
Right.
So I'm going to reduce them down to zero until the legislature figure out where to come up with the rest of that money at. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem.
Right.
You left that in my court.
Right.
Right. And that's how leaders need to do things. They need to find ways to push back on their supervisors and say, nope, not my wheelhouse, not my monkeys, not my circus. That's a you problem, not a me problem. I'm going to make sure that my shot group's real tight.
Right.
If you force me to do it, that's another thing, but you're going to have to pass a bill and make me do it. Right. And then when it comes to the elections, we're going to set the standard on what election integrity looks like. Now, in Arkansas, the way the law is written, I certify sets of ways to conduct an election. So I am not just going to certify ES&S. You can look into how ES&S got in Arkansas, and that Secretary of State actually had to step down because they were $11 million over the lowest bidder for that. And there was a big issue, so he had to step down. And guess where he went to work after he stepped down? He went to work for ES&S. And ES&S has stayed. So we're not going to do that. If there are other machine companies that meet the standard set by federal law and state law, then they'll be made available for counties to purchase at the lowest bidder for them. Well, I'm not going to get in their way. They can do whatever they want to. It's their elections. And if they choose paper ballots, I'm not going to get in the way. But I will say, if you choose a machine, these are the requirements and standards. If you choose paper ballots, these are the requirements and standards. Here's your checklist. Here's what right looks like. We're going to walk the dog on that. Now you know, right? And now you also need to know that the darkroom ninja is going to show up at some point in time, me, and you're not going to know it, and I'm going to have people, and we're just going to check to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And we will also, and I will tell every single one of this, they'll say it's impossible. Nothing's impossible. Impossible is just an excuse for not wanting to do the work.
Right.
We will conduct a 100% forensic audit of every county election in the state of Arkansas, both the primary and the general. And it will be made public. Full stop. And that's going to help restore confidence in our elections by seeing all that, throwing it out there. I want to do an independent third party. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the computer science department at UA, Henderson, Central Arkansas, ASU, 5 or 6 different colleges throughout the state, their mathematics science departments or computer science departments say, hey, I want you to audit the machines within your counties, the source code, the algorithms in it, everything that was done on it. You're going to do that part. If they're using paper ballots, we'll have a team that will go and do the audit for that one. And we'll just divvy it up and figure that out. But an independent third party, that's not assigned to the Secretary of State and doesn't report to the government, it's just some college kids being overseen by supervisors, they're going to give you probably the truth. Right. And that's honestly probably one of the biggest problems that, I saw it in senior military leaders as well, but our politicians are also affected by this. And it's this situation where you get lying to yourself. You have staff and subordinates that are too afraid to speak to you and tell you the truth and be honest with you because they're afraid of their performance evaluations. They're afraid that you're going to fire them. They're afraid of whatever it is, right? So when you're in a leadership position, you're not able to make a good decision because you're surrounded by lies. So you don't know what truth is, and you think you're making the best decision based on the information given to you, but it's not. It's a long way off from it because you're being fed lies.
Right.
So I'm going to take away that opportunity. I'm going to go and find the truth at the source, which is exactly what I did. I figured this out when I was in the military. If you wanted to make sure things were getting done right, you went to the privates and you saw what they were doing and you had a conversation with them and you talked to them. Because if you put something out as an order earlier that day and you go back at 1700 that afternoon and you talk to that private and he hadn't heard it yet, well, now you got a communication problem. So you got to fix that one. Well, then you fix the communication problem. You do it again the next day. 1700, you go down there and you start talking to the private and they're not doing it right. Well, now you have a follow-through problem, right? They're not able to replicate what right looks like all the way down to the lowest level. So you bring in your middle management people and you Barney style it for them and show them what right looks like. And then you say, well, now you bring in your people and I'm going to watch you and make sure that now everyone knows what right looks like, right? And you just walk the dog down like that. And after you do that a few times, people realize, okay, I gotta do this the right way. I gotta make sure my shot group's tight. I gotta unscrew myself because I'm tired of this dude coming around and me looking like I don't know what I'm doing. And you will be held accountable. If you are not following the law, I'm going to refer you to the AG's office. I don't have authority on that, but I'm going to. But if you're doing right, I'm going to reward you.
Right.
I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you're financially compensated better, that you receive awards, that you get put in the paper. Whatever it is that I can do for you, I'm going to do it. Because we don't do that enough. We don't support the people that are doing the right thing. We don't give them praises and stuff. And that's wrong. You know, we are always wanting to go after and get people, right? And punish them when they're doing wrong. But what about the people that's doing right all the time? And they get left out a lot. So we're going to shore that up too. But we're going to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And if not, thank you for your service. You're not able to do the right thing, we'll find someone else that can.
I love it. I love it. Guys, if you're paying attention and you're listening to this, I think that you're hearing a lot of good things that you're probably not hearing anywhere else. I think that that's important. I think that, you know, we need to elect people that are doing this kind of stuff, that are understanding what the job entails. You know, it's crazy to me. It doesn't matter what level it is, from school boards to JPs to city council to and so forth and so on. They'll get into these jobs and they have no idea what they're supposed to do.
Well, they want the title. They think it's cool. And then they get in there and they're like, what did I get myself into? They're over their head.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and they don't educate themselves in order to figure it out.
A lot of it's
be
just a
competent.
popularity contest.
A lot of times. Yeah.
Which is sad.
Even at the state level.
Even at the state level.
And, you know, it may not even start out that way, but it ends up being that way a lot of times. And
a lot of them have great intentions, but then they get in there and they realize that they're in over their head.
Yeah.
And they don't want to admit it. Yeah. When it's okay to be in over your head. If you figure it out, do the work. I mean, it's what it is. It's just doing the work to figure it out. But surround yourself with people that do.
Well, here's let me get your perspective on this. And maybe you will see this and maybe you won't if you're elected. You know, currently right now, you know, our legislators and basically, I mean, almost anybody that you see, they fall into two different categories. They fall into this one, I'm going to battle what I have said and ran on till my dying breath. And then you have this other group that comes in and they're going to battle away, and then they end up compromising. Mm-hmm. And then they end up compromising because they want to be put on certain committees. They're compromising because they feel like that's the way that they're going to better their communities. Yep. They start compromising for a lot of different reasons. And I feel like it's the smaller group that's still fighting the same fight that they promised. And then you got the majority who ended up starting to compromise. Do you see that type of situation having any impact in the ability for you to do your job if you are elected?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's going to be all over the state. You're going to have that at the county environment. You're going to have that at the district environment. And you're definitely going to have that in the state environment. My approach to that is building relationships and explaining to them, like, look, I'm not a legislature. I don't want to be governor. I don't want to be treasurer. I don't want to be any of that stuff. I really want to better the state of Arkansas as a whole, and thereby your children and grandchildren are going to benefit as well. Here's where we can elevate both of our positions. Let's not worry about the rest of the stuff right now. Let's focus on what can better both your points and my points. And take that approach all across the state. Meet people where they are and meet them on a human level and have a conversation. And just talk to them. You know, and if they don't want to, I will find a county that will. And you're doing a disservice to your citizens, because I solve problems. I figure out a way. I don't take no for an answer. I don't take this is the way that we've always done it as a recipe for success. And I don't want to be your friend. I don't. I mean, I'll love you like a brother in Christ or a sister in Christ, but at the end of the day, this is business. And I'm not coming here to go to cocktail parties or play golf. I'm coming here to work. And I am going to work. And everyone in my office is going to work or they can go home. We are not a right to work state. I am not going to let you just collect a government paycheck just because. You will be value added and productive with quantifiable, measurable statistics that moves the needle for everyone in the state of Arkansas, or you can go home.
No. Accountability. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, would you hire someone that didn't make you money?
No.
Well, and would you,
Well, I mean, by accident, but they
would
wouldn't
you
stick
keep
around
them?
very long. Yeah, absolutely.
right? I don't understand this notion why government gets to do that constantly.
Constantly.
It's just mind blowing to me.
Schools,
You know?
government, almost anything and everything that's paid by taxpayers finds themselves in that situation
Yep.
right now, and it's a shame.
And I know there's going to
shame.
be some hurt feelings. I know that.
Well, I'm 100% like you. I mean, I'm not out here to make friends. You're going to like me because I wake up each and every day trying to be the best version of myself.
That's it.
But if that's not good enough, then that's not good enough. But, you know, the job is the job and the job is to get done. And, you know, at the end of the day,
At the end of the day,
it's the job over whether you like somebody or not. You
Yes.
know? And especially if you're doing it for the people.
Well, we have to, Jeremy. Look at the situation in which we're in, man. I mean, really look at it. Our children are not going to have access to Social Security. That safety net is going away.
Mm-hmm.
We are falling behind on the global stage, which is having second, third order effects all across our nation. We are not leading in mathematics. We are not leading in sciences. We are not leading in technology. We are not leading in what the future is going to be, right? And now we don't have the manufacturing base and capacity for other people to fall into, which if that's what they want to do, great. But those opportunities are, some of them are coming back, but they're few and far between the way that they were 20, 25 years ago, right? So we have a situation where in the state of Arkansas, the largest employer is the state. And that is not good at all.
It's over Walmart.
The largest employer in the state is the state of Arkansas. When you look at the contracts, the state employees, the school system,
That's crazy.
everything, the revenue office. If you look at the totality of the state and all the contracts that they offer for building roads and bridges and architecture and all that stuff, everything that they do, the largest employer is the state. And that should not be the case.
No, never. Wasn't intended to be that.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No, we got our hands in too many cookie jars.
Yeah.
And we're not doing anything well, and we're doing a lot of stuff poorly.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I want quality over quantity. Focus on the few things that you can do really, really well, and then hammer them home, and just keep hammering it home. If you take care of the pennies, the dollars will start to take care of themselves, right? And that will reverberate out. You know, but right now we have too many people that are trying to do too many things and they're not doing them well.
Right.
And we're all suffering because of it.
All right. At the end of this, anything you want to leave here that we haven't talked about? Anything you want to close with?
Well, I'll close with this. Look, I'm not a politician. That should be evidently clear by now. And I'm not going to ask you for your vote. I haven't asked for anyone's vote throughout this entire process. What I'll ask you is for a fair opportunity to earn it from you. No one's ever given me anything. I don't want you to start now. I don't expect you to. But I just want a fair shot at earning it from you. And I hope that you can hear from my voice and see from my actions that I am who I say I am. I am a servant leader that is willing to take a pay cut and to come back and serve the people of the state for the betterment, selfishly, of my kids and grandkids. And the second, third order fix is going to be the betterment for your kids and grandkids. I'm not looking to make Arkansas instantly better in 4 years. I'm looking to create an environment where in 20 years, our grandkids are faced with the decision, do I get the brand new Ford F-250 pickup truck or do I get the Dodge and pay cash for one of them? That's the decisions that I want our grandkids to struggle with. Not putting food on the table, not paying the electric bill. What brand new truck am I going to get this year? And I'm going to do everything I can to create an environment to where that's the way that it is.
Bryan, I appreciate it, brother. Good to have you.
Great to be here, man.
Guys, again, can't stress it enough. Get out there, know who you are voting for, know the importance of who you're voting for, and make a wise decision. I appreciate you guys, and man, keep liking and sharing and growing, and your voices will be heard. Take care. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, man.
Didn't keep you too long.
Did I talk too much?
No. I think that this crazy, this crazy world of